Welcome to the Too Bad Eugene podcast. Let's talk Too Bad Eugene.
Hey, Too Bad Eugene podcast, season 2, episode 3, talking about You Won't Know Me. We are 3/4 of Too Bad Eugene. I'm Adam.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Jason.
We're missing Sam tonight. Tonight is his 20th anniversary with his wife Julie, which is we gave him the night off. Thought we'd be nice about that. Well, we're here to talk about, as you know, with this podcast, we're kind of going song by song through our new album, Battle Scars, and just reflecting on the lyrical content, the writing process, the musical influences, that kind of song, kind of like a expanded audio liner notes for our new record. Tonight, talking about track 3, You Won't Know Me. And this one, when I was playing, when I gave our friend Andy Snyder all of the demos for the new record, and he listened to them, he got back to me. He's like, "Yeah, I really like it." I was like, "What's your favorite ones?" And he's like, "Probably that Foo Fighters one," and referring to this one. And I thought that was interesting, and I kind of want to start there. The Foo Fighters influence on this song, and I wonder how overt you guys think that is. Like, how much does this song sound like a Foo Fighters song to you guys?
I'd like to bring up that on the last album, there's a song called Lost the World.
I Lost the World.
I was doing like a Learn to Fly beat on that song the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to Fly from Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace.
Nope. There's nothing left to lose.
Nothing left to lose.
Yep.
And I asked you guys, like, does this sound too Foo Fighters-y? And you guys were like, shut up.
That's how I respond
It's
to those
just
questions.
It's just drums, dude. And so when you were like, is this one too Foo Fighters-y? I was like, shut up. That's what I have to say about this.
I will add that I haven't made that connection actually with this one.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the story on this.
Okay.
We were over at my mother-in-law's house. In their garage, they have a music setup, guitars and amps, and like an electric drum thing. And we often jam with cousins and in-laws and stuff. And we had been jamming on The Pretender.
Oh.
You know that song?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the opener of the album I misquoted a second ago.
Isn't that on Echoes, Silence, Grace?
Oh, yeah. That is, yes, the open. Yeah, sorry, I had the album wrong. That's right. That is the opening track of that one. We had been jamming on that song. Great song. And I was like, yeah, I did sort of. I'm like, what if I kind of just took the feel of that song but made it like major, like a major key thing rather than minor. And I was just kind of playing around, but with a similar kind of you know, that kind of thing they're doing on that.
Sure.
And that is where You Won't Know Me started.
Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, for sure.
And it kind of, like, I don't think I was aware till I had sort of fleshed out the song how much more of an influence, because I thought I was just playing with that opening riff and the rhythm of it, but it does a similar, like, kind of starts sparse but open, and then goes consistent but palm muted, and there's kind of a structural kinship between the songs that I was not intentional about and wasn't even fully aware of until I later on reflected on it. I'm like, ooh, interesting. So
Yeah, it sounds to me like the thing that I would tip me off that it would be close to that song is the ending. Because the ending
interesting.
is almost identical, isn't it?
To what?
To that song, The Pretender.
To The Pretender?
Da-dun, da-da-da-da.
Oh, the very end. I thought you meant when we kind of go to a new part at the end.
No, yeah, not that. Let's not go there yet. But that
the ending.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, but not the drum thing you do, because to me that's what I pay most attention to is the drum thing he does at the very end that I love.
Right.
Which I don't think they do anything like that in the Pretender kit.
I just got the spanogram. It's no on the Pretender. it's
straighter. It's
yeah, he doesn't try to do a fill he can't like I do.
You nailed that, Phil.
There's a lot of double foot kicks. I was
so humble.
It to me, it reminded me initially of like a MXPX kind of tune, like a post slowly going the way of the buffalo kind of vibe.
Like, can you think of like an example?
I tried to come up with an example for you because I figured you'd probably ask this question, and I went and listened to what's the one after that? Ever Passing Moment, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, After Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yes, After Passing Moment, that's right.
And when I went
the
through
one
that,
I'm on, that's the album I do backup vocals on.
You were correct. Now, I went and listened through each one of those tracks, just kind of scrolled through each one, and interestingly enough, there isn't a single thing on there that sounds like this. But for whatever reason, the initial feeling for me was kind of something in that kind of area. But you mentioned that you did some work with MXPX on that record, which, if I'm not mistaken, you might have a little story that connects the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, I didn't even think about that.
That would be interesting to share.
Yes. When so MXPX was at Conway Studios down in like Burbank, I think, making that record. And like this was, Too Bad Eugene had signed with Rock City Recordings for our first record. We hadn't recorded it yet, but we were like getting ready for that while they were down there recording the Ever Passing Moment. And yeah, Mike was like, why don't you come down here and do some backup vocals on the record, and that can kind of like, raise your profile to get you guys some more exposure, which was such a cool thing for him to do. So I did that. Okay, now I don't think he would care if I shared this detail, but during a break, Mike Herrera and Tom, I don't remember if Yuri was there, but they were in like a break room and they were watching Faces of Death.
Oh man,
do you know what this is? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was like a guy would like get this used, or it was footage news stations had that they couldn't air of people like dying on tape. Yeah. And so somebody put those together as like compilation tapes and would sell them. And they were watching one, and I couldn't take it. Like, that was too gnarly for me. So I went outside, and it was nighttime, and it was dark outside, and I just kind of like turned a little corner, and there was like totally dark outside, but like a light shining down on two guys taking a smoke break, and that was Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins, who were there mixing There Is Nothing Left to Lose. They had recorded it elsewhere. I think they had recorded it multiple places, and I think they mixed it multiple places. I don't think they mixed all of it at Conway, but they at least mixed a few songs.
So you're like, just all of a sudden there's this gnarly thing going on, and you decide, I'm going to go outside, and then those two are just out there.
And I didn't know that Foo Fighters were there mixing anything. I just sort of like turned a corner, like, oh my gosh, there's Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins.
Sure.
And I was like, immediately, like, Dave has a cigarette in his mouth, and he just sees me. They're chatting. He sees me take a cigarette out of his mouth. Like, hey, I'm Dave. Like, I interrupted the conversation of theirs. They have no idea who I am. He was just the nicest guy on the planet. And Taylor did the same thing. He's like, hey, I'm Taylor. I went over and shook their hands and said, I'm Adam, and kind of told them what I was doing there and why I wasn't in there. And they were like, oh yeah, Faces of Death. Those things are... And we kind of had a brief conversation about Faces of Death. And that was it. I probably hung out with them for like 5 to 7 minutes before I just felt too awkward, because I was like, I don't know what else
doing.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just didn't know how to make the conversation non-awkward. Sure. So then I go back and tell the MXPX guys who I had run into, and Jerry Finn, who was producing their record, I think he was the one who said, like, oh yeah, I heard those guys were here. And then like that led to like, hey, what if we asked Dave Grohl to do something on our record? So the Responsibility, which I think was a single on that record, it begins with Dave Grohl going 1, 2, 3, 4. Like
Yeah.
he does the count off, and I get some credit for that because I was the one who was like, "Hey, the
Yeah.
Foo Fighters guys are here."
Yes.
And, so anyway, I thought like just like last week, you and I told our stories about like skate punk got us into that genre of music, which is so reflected in Divorce Story. I thought maybe we would tell our Foo Fighters stories tonight. Maybe how you first discovered Foo Fighters, favorite songs of theirs. I don't know. Kind of do a little bit of a. I mean, it feels a little very unpunk rock for us as a band to love the Foo Fighters as much as all four of us do. But I love that. To me, that's kind of one of those things where like, who cares whether it's punk rock? We love that band. So let's talk about it.
I think my very first connection with them would have been, was it Learn to Fly?
Oh, really?
The Mentos commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Or
No.
video.
The Mentos thing was Big Me, first album.
It was Big Me.
What?
Big Me was
Is that
Mentos.
I talked about it. That's called Big Me.
Yeah.
That's the video with the Mentos in it.
Okay, but the one that was Learn to Fly, they were in an airplane, and Dave was like 5 different, or maybe they all were like 5 different characters,
Yeah.
dressed up in different outfits and doing funny things.
Dave is himself and like an obsessed girly fan, and I
Yeah.
think Taylor is a
Flight attendant.
airline. What's the word that isn't stewardess?
Flight attendant.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that video.
I think
Is
I
it his
saw
favorite
that.
profession?
I think I saw that first, and then I saw the Mentos Big Me, and then I made that connection that was that drummer from the Nirvana band. You know, like whoa.
I bet you're getting so. There's no way you first heard of Learn to Fly because that's third album.
All I remember was I just saw the videos. I just saw the videos, and I was like, oh, okay, like
You're probably hearing Everlong on the radio and not noticing it.
maybe
Like there goes like My Hero and Everlong had been fairly big.
I
Well
don't.
prior to.
I don't remember that in that order. I remember seeing those two, and then I remember seeing the video for Monkey Ranch, and I'm like, this is a punk song. Like,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
like a total punk thing. And then after that was My Hero or Everlong, because wasn't that in like Friday Night Lights or something on the soundtrack for that?
Yeah, Dad, isn't it in Friday Night Lights? Dad is a huge Friday Night Lights fan.
Is he? Didn't know this.
No, he's not.
This is false.
I hate to.
Straight out of Lubbock, Texas, or whatever. So for me, that is kind of where it began. The first record I got was The Color and the Shape, and that went into the CD player in the car, and didn't leave that spot for
Can I
quite a
just say,
while.
like top 5 rock albums of the '90s, I think.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like my favorite kind of album. There's like a song or two I'll skip, but then I'll go back. I'll be like, that song is not worth skipping. It's so good.
Is it like what year is Color of the Shape?
97, I think, maybe 96. I'll check.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, I mean,
97.
that's where it started for me. There was a song on that record that was particularly impactful. It's called February Stars.
I love that song.
And there's such a build, and when you go through that record, there's so many different kind of styles that it just felt like it was like a complete record. Like you had like a Monkey Wrench kind of a tune, and then you had like a My Hero. It's kind of like this big kind of rock, kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a ballad, but then you get Everlong at the end, and it just, I don't know, it just was this culmination. But that February Stars thing just punched me right in the face. Because I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, and then it just, all of a sudden, like you could just feel it building, like, oh my goodness, what is happening? And when you're in the car, you know what it's like, right? You crank that thing up.
Oh, yeah.
You're in your own little world. I'm sure people are watching me just screaming my head off down the freeway. Actually, There was a time where I was on the freeway and Andy was right next to me and had no idea. And I was just going for it. And then he called me. He's like, "Hey, did you get to where you were going?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I was just next to you on the freeway. You were screaming your head off. What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "It was probably February Stars or something like that." But that was how I kind of came to know them. And then you just gobble up anything they got after that, and then you just hang on for dear life for everything else. So
that song had missed me until a practice like 2 years ago where you were like, "February Stars, whoa!" And I was like, I gotta listen. I listened to that later, and I'm trying to think of a comparison right now of a song that builds like that song, and I can't think of it. It's like such an awesome.
Because I've heard both of you talk about it, and I still have yet to go, because it's late on Color and the Shape, right?
It's track 10 right before Everlong.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go check this. Yeah, I think I have, since you've told me about it, and maybe just wasn't in the right space.
Do you know that song, Enough Space, on that album? Off the top of your head? It's the most, in my opinion, it's like a Nirvana riff of a Foo Fighters song. It's the...
yeah.
Yeah.
That is so good. Yes.
Flying machines. It's like... It's not like my favorite song in the world, but it kind of feels like it's got Nirvana energy. I love that song.
I can see that.
There's that other one, too, that's like a Beatles thing. That's the only thing that I've ever attached to the Beatles coming from Foo Fighters.
My Poor Brain, the beginning of My Poor Brain. It's way faster than that.
I know, but it sounds like getting better.
Oh, you're doing the Beatles song.
No, I'm thinking of, I don't know what the name of it is, but good it is to see you. Good to see you.
Oh, yeah. That song is more, because it's got like a...
Yeah. A little shuffle
I don't think
to
it's
it.
a Beatles song.
That's a good one. Anyway.
I like that song.
It's a great record. You're showing me. I don't know Color and the Shape as well as I probably should.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like, if not top 5, it's maybe like tied for me with the Bends and OK Computer for like the best 3 rock albums of the 90s.
Oh man.
I mean, to me, like the other ones, because there was 2 before that, right? There's the Nothing Left to Lose. Just the one?
Nothing Left to Lose is after Color and the Shape.
Okay.
It's immediately after.
To me, that very first record, that was the one that he did all by himself, right?
Yeah.
It felt like, there was tons of great stuff on that, but then when it came to this one, it was like, there was like a total bullseye happening, right? Where we kind of like, we understand what's going on. For him to come through, what he went through with the Nirvana and that whole scenario, and the fan base really not accepting him, kind of moving on to the next thing, and to be able to pull that together like that, I mean, to me, just in principle, is pretty special.
Yeah.
And bullseye. So.
Taylor Hawkins said that like when he first heard that first album, he's like, I loved it. It kind of had like a Steve Miller vibe to it. I was like, that is a weird thing to ascribe to it, but I agree.
That is
weird. Kind of just the like jammy band thing.
So at what point, Calvin, do you kind of discover this thing? Maybe just
I'll tell you what,
stuff or
Foo Fighters and Keen and Death Cab for Cutie and the Beatles and the Beach Boys are bands I had no say in whether or not I heard them as a kid. And
I can see that.
I think you and Mom both had different playlists, and so I heard.
That's true. They're bands we both loved, especially in like the mid 2000s when he's like little. Yeah.
So Foo Fighters are like my parents' band when I'm growing up, along with a lot of other things that I still like and things I've let go of. But
it's true. There were like never being a time in your life you weren't listening to the Foo Fighters. That's crazy.
But I think I like in high school or like late middle school, maybe like 7th and 8th grade, I started playing the drums, and I had no shame. I learned drums to like Meghan Trainor songs and Iggy Azalea and Charlie XCX for the young fan base out there.
Yeah.
Hey, 2%.
That might be less.
I listened to like mostly girl pop to learn how to play the drums, but then like the rock songs were like 2 Descendants songs that I kind of liked, and then a lot of Foo Fighters. I probably learned how to play drums to The Pretender. Like, I think the first time I felt like sections of a song click into my brain was the Pretenders' obvious chapters. My Poor Brain as well, just like a fun. It's so much fun. So I think I made my Foo Fighters fandom my own in middle school, playing the drums to it. And I think Everlong was like one of the first songs I learned all the way through on the guitar, not just for myself, but like in the high school rock band I played Everlong, so like I learned that one.
I remember seeing you guys play that.
I was really proud. I think I could tell I had an okay ear when like nobody else could play the intro and make it sound right, and I could do the picking pattern like more right than my competition. So
Probably more than the teacher.
no, Devin Avey's a pretty good guitarist.
Yes. Yes, he is.
But yeah, I think Foo Fighters were like a formative rock band for me. And for a while I was like, I just think they like own rock. I don't think rock is going anywhere anymore. Like they're the only guys who do it. I have since kind of changed my tune on that. I think Jack White's new albums are like, oh, rock's in good hands. I don't think we need anything to be worried about. But Dave Grohl is like a hero. I think anybody who's like a self-respecting, not afraid to say it person, they'd say Foo Fighters are a band they like.
Yeah, anytime someone is like into rock music, but I'm really into the Foo Fighters, I'm like, you feel compelled to say that. You don't actually feel that.
Some people, it's the same thing with like Seth Rogen. They just make up stories about like why that guy is not cool. I'm like, those stories are always like such stupid rumors. Dave Grohl is so cool. I don't see any. I don't know. I love it.
Well, and the breadth. To me, like, and
breadth.
One of the reasons, to me, when I was in the middle period between like, Too Bad Eugene's first run and Generator and Thrush, when that stuff was over and before we started doing Too Bad Eugene again, and I would think about coming back.
Breadth.
When I would think about coming back to music, I would think about the Foo Fighters a lot because I'm like, that's the kind of thing I want to do. That band can kind of do anything. Mm-hmm. They can do a ballad. They can do like White Limo on what's that album called?
Back and forth.
One by One.
Where it's like it's just crazy white hot metal.
Yeah.
But then they can do as you say, like Monkey Ranch is like almost a pop punk song. I'm like that's the space I want to be in, where you're just making the music you love, no matter what it is. And to their credit, even when they go places I couldn't follow them, when they were obsessed with the Bee Gees, and I'm like, okay, this is really not my thing, but it's yours, and you're doing it, and who's stopping you?
You know what? Like, just a quick comment on that. One of the things I think that I love about them is they're musicians. They're into music, and there are certain things that they like. And to sit there and churn out album after album and have the success that they have had, there's got to be some tangents, right? There's got to be something that breaks up the challenge of it.
Because, for me at least, it's funny listening to people talk about the arcs of Foo Fighters. Because some people felt like, oh, they lost it, but now they're back. And they'll say that at certain points where I'm like, no, I thought they were back right when you're saying they lost it. So people kind of go different with it. But I'll say, my story, because having loved Nirvana in like 7th grade, I want to say, when they first hit. I don't know if that's like 7th or 8th grade.
8th probably, because it was 6th grade for me.
Okay. But then, like, I was into it, and then I kind of got out of it. And I realized, I'm like, nah, this is, there's something about Nirvana, especially when they got to In Utero, I was out.
Dude.
I know.
Such a cold take. Like, it's so lame to not like In Utero. I just want to, like...
One.
I'm just telling my own story on that.
Just being honest.
I just couldn't get into it in high school when that came out. And I felt that, yes, I have lame taste. I'm sorry. But the first Foo Fighters record, I kind of felt the same way about. It to me, and I'll say this is even more lame than you're saying. I look back on myself at that period, like late high school, into the beginning of college. I had fairly narrow tastes. I was like, I'm into punk kind of only, and this isn't that, which is wrong. Like, I looking back on it now as an adult, I'm like, no, Nirvana was punk. That first Foo Fighters record, like, I shouldn't have felt like I couldn't like it because of genre restrictions I was putting on myself. But that was the truth. That was just, for me, I'm like, that's a different kind of music. I'm not into that, which is very narrow-minded. I've tried to go back to that first record since, and I still, to me, there's some ideas that are on the way that I don't think he'd really found his footing. But then I was working at Sessions, snowboard clothing company, but they also had like a music thing I was working in. When Color and the Shape came out, and we had the CD in the office, and people would put it on, and I was like, "This is that Foo Fighters, man!" Because as you said, Monkey Wrench came on. I'm like, "Okay, that's undeniably cool." My Hero kind of took me a minute. I kind of rolled my eyes at My Hero at first, and I look back on that now, like, I'm ashamed that it took me a while to love My Hero.
You know something? That song and Fix You by Coldplay are probably featured in the same amount of like inspirational videos about sports players.
Yep.
That's probably right.
Yep.
But the other one that, I kind of want to put into my head the first Queens of the Stone Age record, because I know there's a connection there between Josh Homme, whatever, and Dave Grohl as friends, because My Poor Brain on The Color and the Shape, which I loved when I first heard that, I'm like, holy crap, that when it, that sounds like Queens of the Stone Age to me. And I'm kind of wondering what came first, chicken or egg there, with that kind of...
Didn't Dave drum for them?
On their third record, so that was a little bit later.
And then there was the Probot thing, right?
That I don't know about. Probot? Do you know about this?
I'm going to have to look that up.
I know about with them, Crooked Vultures. That's both of them, right?
Crooked Vultures, is it? What's the one that Taylor did? Isn't that Taylor? Oh, no, Taylor's thing was different. He did another side
I
project.
had Taylor's stuff on my phone. I forget what they're called.
But anyway, after Color of the Shape, I really didn't like There's Nothing Left to Lose. I do now. But when it first came out, I liked Learning to Fly, but I really didn't like the rest of that record. The one after that, One and Only, or
One by One.
One by One. Didn't like that record at all.
I wasn't sure how well that was going to go for them, really.
Yeah, so I would not have called myself a Foo Fighters fan during that era. I would have said I'm a Color and the Shape fan.
Mm-hmm.
It was In Your Honor. When In Your Honor came out, that double record, where it was like, loud stuff on the first disc and then mellow second disc. From there, for like the next three, that's when He's Little. That's when we're,
I'm like 3 years old when that album comes out.
But then like Echoes, Silence, Patience, and Grace, which I think to this day remains my favorite Foo Fighters record.
That's a good one.
That's the one with the Pretender.
Hot take.
I
totally disagree there.
It's a take if I say it's their best record. If I just say it's my favorite, is that a take?
What do you think is their best record?
I don't care.
That is a cold take.
We can't skip over Skin and Bones.
Huh?
Skin and Bones.
What is that?
That's the live acoustic.
Oh.
No takers, huh?
Not a fan of, like, I like that acoustic second disc of In Your Honor, but I don't really like he did like an acoustic version of something on SNL that I really didn't like. What was that?
His new From Medicine to Midnight. It was the Waiting on a War song, which I think is fine. I like that song.
It's okay, but then I also didn't mention, it's 2009 or 10, Wasting Light, right? Mm-hmm. That one. Those three in a row, to me, are
fantastic.
The high point.
Fantastic.
Other than that new record, the one they did post-Taylor, which I think is fantastic.
Very good.
I love that album.
Yeah, that one I like as much as that kind of mid-2000s era. But
also, did you watch his Play thing? He did like a writing camp for young musicians or something like that. And he wrote a song that's like 25 minutes long. And I've shown you a little bit of his drumming for it. He's got like an isolated drums video for that whole song. It's called Dave Grohl Play. And it's just like, you see him walk into a room, sit down at a drum set, no headphones, and he just like breathes in and out, and it's so good.
It is. I do remember that.
And then if you watch it with like the guitars and all the instrumentation, it's like, it's cool to watch somebody with like so much music shooting through his head, and he's able to put it out perfectly. That's like a high point Dave Grohl moment for me. That whole video is awesome. Actually, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about music videos. But sorry, Jason, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say one quick thing. There's a song that we wrote for Thrush Generator that I wrote a part based off of Everlong.
Is that My Kingdom for a Horse?
No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't Nashville. It was I can't remember the name of it, but somebody can look that up and hear a song, and if it sounds like the beginning to Everlong, then that's what I did.
Oh, is it Down With You?
Yep.
Yeah, that does sound like Everlong. Yeah. Okay, because it has a drop D.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll have to get... Nobody at home will know that. I don't even know if you've ever heard that, Calvin. I'll have to get that on Bandcamp or Spotify or whatever so people can hear that. Because that Thrush EP is worth hearing.
It's very good.
Okay. Yeah, they're videos.
I just wanted to say, like, I think their video for Walk, where they do Falling Down, the Michael Douglas movie.
What a great movie.
He just like he does a few riffs on that movie where like he's sitting on a bench with his briefcase and he's in the car and he gets out and he's storming around. It's pretty cool.
Does he go into like the burger joint and like point at the sign and all that too?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, I got to see that. I haven't seen that.
They have a video where they do. I think it's Bridges Burning, which is I think whatever the first song is called. I'm Wasting Light. Where they're like in suits and it's in black and white and they're recreating the Beatles, like they're all like playing their guitars way
just like Nirvana did,
just like Nirvana did, kind of like like how Outkast did for the Hey.
Oh
It's not in black and white, so that one's really cool. I think My Hero is like, it's cheesy to say, but that music video like breaks my heart or it makes my heart because
I can't remember.
It's just a guy in a red shirt and you never see his face and he's running down the street and he storms into a burning building and he starts like carrying a baby outside and burning pictures, and when he runs inside you see Taylor playing the drums like in the house.
Oh, no way.
Oh, I'm getting chills.
It's
that. So like, yeah, if my friends were here they'd be like, loser, you like that video? Oh my gosh.
It was the Everlong one
Hot
that got
take.
me. Cool take.
I do love the Everlong video too. Yeah.
The Everlong. So to me, like, if you people at home have seen, we now have 3 music videos at Too Bad Eugene, and I will say explicitly that the Foo Fighters are kind of an inspiration for me because all of our videos are very DIY. We've been making them on our phones. I put them together on a laptop, and they're fairly silly. And I remember an interview Dave Grohl, I think with Taylor Hawkins, did. It was like on MTV News in the late 90s. They were asking him about videos, and I forget what the question was, but what he said has stuck in my head ever since, where he said, we take our music very seriously, but videos are commercials. Who cares?
Right.
He's like, they're just silly.
Right.
So they didn't really, they've made really cool music videos, but they're fun. They don't take themselves very seriously as, music video makers. They take themselves seriously as a band. And I kind of want to, that's sort of the direction I like to head myself, is that we take the music really seriously. The videos are for fun.
Yeah.
That's funny to say because I think half their videos are cheesy and jokes. But I do think the My Hero video is pretty, like...
poignant.
Yeah, but maybe that was, like, an old era. Yeah, I think their video for the song on Concrete and Gold Run, they're all in, like, old people makeup in wheelchairs and stuff, and then they start going crazy. Yeah.
Well...
I'd also like to say, if we're moving on from Foo Fighters...
We should, but last word.
The final song on the first album, Exhausted, is like, I think one of the greatest closing tracks of all time. And it goes so underrated because I think before Color and the Shape came out, they would close their concerts with that song. So I've seen videos of them and Dave's got the little goatee and he's playing that. And William Goldsmith's on the drums. And it is such a perfectly moody song. and I kind of wish they would play it live still. I've never seen them live, but I see videos, and I don't think they do that song anymore. It is so good.
How you pick songs for a Foo Fighters live set when they have so much material at this point? Like, inevitably, if you go to a Foo Fighters show with a certain song or two you really hope they play, your odds of being disappointed seem fairly high. Unless it's like one of the main singles, you know.
Yeah, deep cuts aren't really in that. I've seen them a couple times. And it is spectacular. And it gives you everything that you want, other than maybe, you know, one of those that aren't necessarily the radio singles. But I do remember them playing February Stars live, and that blew my doors right off. So
That's cool. I've seen a video of them playing it with like an orchestra.
did they do that? I didn't know they did
Well,
that.
we're a half hour in on just talking about Foo Fighters at this point. So, and we don't have to go too much longer on the other couple topics I wanted to talk about. But I did want to say one thing that is special to me about this song is that this is the first one I wrote after we had finished Distance. Like, there's a couple things that we'll get to on this record that predate Distance. They're like older things, older ideas that like got, you know, a little bit more work done on them and then showed up on the record. But this is the first one, like, after Distance was over, that I start writing, and like I knew, I'm like, okay, this one's going on the next record, and it's not the first thing I wrote. I think that's a fairly common thing. Normally, you finish a record, you go into the writing season for the next record, and the first few things you write don't quite cut the mustard. And that was true. There's a couple songs I worked on immediately after Distance was over that did not make this record and probably will never make a record. And that's always a little bit of a discouraging feeling, because you feel like you've just written some pretty good stuff that went on the previous record, and you're like, you want to keep that train going, and then you're like, oh, this isn't really working. This was the first one that I'm like, this works. I was excited about it. I immediately knew, I'm like, okay, we got one. Which is just a cool feeling. We're like, all right, there's a lot more work to do, but I got one.
I don't remember, was this part of like that first batch that we demoed in the practice room?
Yeah.
Did we touch this one?
Yeah, we played this one.
I
in
remember
the
making
rest.
any changes to this. This was pretty straightforward, if I recall.
Yeah, no, this. I mean, we made a change or two during recording that vocal part at the end, where it's you and I and Sam all kind of. We're almost singing in the round.
Oh no.
Which is really fun. And then we harmonized together. That was not on the demo. It was a two-part thing that just went back and forth. But it was late in the game that idea of having it be a three-part thing came in. But that's the only major change. It's not really that major. No, but I demoed it. We jammed on it in the band room. It's pretty straightforward tune musically.
Yeah, and did we do that vocal part later?
Yeah, like that. We didn't come up with that until after like we had tracked it musically.
Right. And you were like, hey, I came up with this part. We should try it.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Really
that was
good.
super fun. The only other thing that we got to talk about on this that's, you know, emotional for the two of us is the lyrics.
Yes.
This one I wrote when so my wife, his mom, is the second oldest of seven siblings. All but one lived in the same town until 2 years ago. It hasn't been 2 years. I forget how long ago. It's been maybe 2 years ago.
It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah. Her next brother down, Dave, he and his wife had not lived in Santa Cruz since before you were born, probably, right? Did they ever live in town?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
It's been, yeah, they're an architect engineering duo, and they're moving all over the place. And I got to go to Italy with them last year.
They're awesome. They lived in like Seattle for a long time, and then they came down into the Bay Area. They were like in Oakland and stuff, and then they've been out in Hawaii for a few years. But the other six siblings, you know, married families, whatever, we all stayed in town until about 2 years ago. Summer, who's like the third to youngest, and her husband Bobby, they had a baby, And it was like 3 months later, I don't know, a certain amount of months later, they moved to Tennessee. And then some months after that, the next sister up, Laura, and her husband, Dan, and their 2 kids, Annabelle and Jack, they also moved to Tennessee. So now we have this sort of Tennessee contingent of Rachel's family. But when Summer and Bobby first moved out there with this little baby Zoe that is just lights up a room, it broke our heart. So that was the impetus for the song. The song is written to her. I've had a few people ask me about this, I can't tell if this is about your own kid and what happened. I'm like, no, it's about my niece, and I've explained it a couple of times, so now everybody will know. It was written before Laura and Dan and their kids had moved. Just Summer and Bobby with Zoe had moved, and so it's thinking about this little niece. We're a pretty tight knit family. He's close with a lot of his cousins, and I'm close with my nephews, and was looking forward to being close with my nieces.
Actually, we should say my little cousin Lane drew the artwork for Shaking My Fist, which we'll do later.
That's right.
That yellow fist.
For the single cover. That's right. He drew that.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, the idea that she was going to grow up and not really know who we are was such a bummer. And I wrote it. I think we'd even recorded it before I even told Summer that we had this song. I'm like, hey, just so you know, our new album's coming out, and I wrote a song that's going to make you cry. Sorry.
Oh, my goodness. And was that the response? Did you get any kind of...
I wasn't there when she heard it, but, she texted. She's like, oh,
yeah. That sounds good stuff, though.
Sweet, you wrote a song about it.
But now, what's hard is, now the song, it also applies to Annabelle and Jack, my other niece and nephew that have moved away. But it would be hard for me to go, so far away you won't know me, Zoe, Annabelle and Jack, and, it doesn't really all fit. I don't have to make any version of it.
Hey Jude, but it's Hey Julian.
Is Hey Jude about Julian?
Yeah, I think so.
Lennon?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
It's not Sean Lennon.
Yeah, it's the oldest one, right?
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he was like, I've got this great melody, but it doesn't work with Julian, so I gotta make it Jude.
No. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's You Won't Know Me, at least as far as everything I had to say about it. Did you guys have any other things that we should address?
No, that was a fun one to record. We had a good time doing that one.
We played it live for the first time last week.
We did, and it went pretty well.
All 6 people loved it.
That's not accurate.
8.
There was a good 40, I would say.
It was a good tester, though. It was a good tester for that particular event.
I should have said that. I'm sorry.
But it was. There's a cool little leady part that I got to play in that one, which was really fun. Liked that. And that second.
Did you say lady part?
Leady.
Oh my bad. Sorry.
Lady parts.
Anyway, we did. We should also mention that I think we teased last episode we would have a new music video out. I'm sure anybody watching this knows that video is now out. Please do check out our video for Fool's Gold. Had a lot of fun with that. That was shot not almost. All the live footage. Even that's not true. Most of the live footage was shot by the members of United Defiance. To give them some credit. My daughter Mercy shot some footage
At the Crate Place?
Yes, and Julie Skelton, Sam's wife, shot some footage at the Red Dwarf in Las Vegas.
Shout out, 20 years. I think it's just Red Dwarf.
What did I say?
The Red Dwarf.
Oh, whatever.
We should also shout out one other moment in that video that I shot was our good friends at Strum Brewing in Ontario, the cat.
That's right.
Or does that
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
That is the most talented cat I've ever seen in my life.
That was cool.
That place.
I'm sure there's...
Yeah, Strum Brewing, man, Ontario, that place is killer. If you want, a strawberry stout, I think was what I had, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
It's a weird idea.
They had a lot of tasty treats there. Really cool place.
Yeah.
I had the Cranberry Guinness. I'm just kidding.
Oh. Fooled me.
All right, everybody. We will see you next time when we will be talking about Sick. That song is sick, bro.
That's a good one. I'm excited.
If you have a cold when you're sniffling underneath the covers, that'll be a great podcast to stream right into your ears.
All right.
Your neti pot.
Ooh.
Go listen to some Foo Fighters and then some Too Bad Eugene. Have a great week, everybody.
Later.